I will now introduce our second speaker for the evening. When I was little, I went on fishing trips with my parents often. These fishing trips, to me, were boring because most of the time we were just waiting for a fish to nibble on the line. I have multiple fishing experiences looking back that taught me one valuable lesson that can be applied to almost anything in life. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished Toastmasters and fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests, I would like to introduce Jake Martin, who will be presenting life lessons from a day at sea. Life lessons from a day at sea. Jake Martin.
Patience is a life skill you can only learn from experience. It was just before sunrise. Me, my dad, and my mom, in the summer of 2010, I was 10 years old, rode over to Courtney Campbell Causeway to put in our boat at the boat ramp and enjoy a day of fishing. We fiddled around at the boat ramp for about 10 minutes, and then off we were to our fishing spot in the mangroves on the flats. One thing you have to understand about this boat we were in is it was an old boat. It was a small boat. It was 15 feet long and 3.5 feet wide, a very small boat for 3 people. Our engine on the back of the boat was also old, frail, and unreliable. I kid you not. We were driving, we were going to our spot, and I saw 2 pelicans swimming, not flying, swimming faster than we were moving the boat. That was something to laugh at. We got to the spot. My dad reaches in the bucket full of live shrimp, and he pulls out 3 shrimp, plop, 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 puts them on our hooks. Me and my mother tosses our rods in the water and hands us the rods. We're all 3 sitting there eagerly waiting for the fish to grab the hook. So we wait, and we wait, and we wait, and we wait for what seems like 14 or 15 hours until, wait, I get a nibble. And it gets me out of set. The hook, I start reeling that bad boy in. I'm really getting this in. I'm smelling there already. Baby, let's get it. Ooh, I pick the hook out of the water, and there's a big clump of seaweed. Seaweed the size of my hand. It was a big catch, but it wasn't quite what I was looking for. My mom and dad, as encouraging as they are, my dad saying, "It's all right, son, you'll get her next time." And my mom saying, "Oh, sweetheart, there's more fish in the sea. Don't worry about it." There I stand with seaweed on the end of my hook. I'm a little discouraged. But nevertheless, I give my rod back to my dad. He hooks me up back again. We throw it back in the water, and there I stand. But I'm baking in the sun. I'm bored. There's no movement anywhere for miles except the occasional wave kissing the side of the boat. I decide I have to do something other than this. So I put my rod in the rod holder and I do something. The first thing I do is I decide to get a tan. I take my shirt off and I sprawl out on the bow of the boat, getting a nice, relaxing tan. Wait a second, I hear footsteps. My dad's coming over and says, "Son, no, you don't, but no, you don't." He grabs me, he throws my shirt on me, and he says, "You know, son, this sun is dangerous. The sun will burn you. You heard of skin cancer?" Yes, Dad, thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, now my second activity to occupy my bored mind is I'm thinking I'm going to play with some live shrimp in this bucket. So I reach in the bucket, I start playing with the shrimp, I'm grabbing them, I'm squeezing them, I'm looking at them real closely. But one thing about shrimp that I did not realize, but learned very quickly, is they have defenses. They have these little horns on the top of their head, and when you grab them, they flick down and stab you with these horns. So that grew old very quick, getting stabbed with these horns in my hands. I decided playing with shrimp was not for me. So I had a third option. I decided, okay, maybe let me just go for a swim off the side of the boat, enjoy the cool, refreshing water. So I get in the water, my life vest on, young shaver I was, and start swimming a little bit. Just relaxing, enjoying the water. But then I hear a doot, 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 doot. My mother is blowing an air horn and she's screaming, "Man overboard!" She assumes the pose of a professional swimmer, dives in the water, comes out, and grabs me. She throws me on the bow of the ship, and there I lay, cold and wet. I decided, okay, it's time to give up. My rod is in the rod holder. My shrimp is out. It's time for me to relax and take a nap. Whatever happens, happens. So I take a nap on the front of the ship. Here I go. Oh man, my rod's, it's zinging. It's heating up. My line's going out. I run to my rod. I grab my rod, I pick it up, I set the hook, and I'm reeling this bad boy in. This is the biggest fish of the day. Actually, the only real fish of the day. Come on, let's reel it in. Come on, baby. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Ha! My line snaps. No fish today. I saw my dinner disappear off my plate in my imagination. My mom and dad, as encouraging as they are, my dad saying, "It's all right, son, you'll get the next one, don't worry about it." My mother, "Oh, sweetie, there's more fish in the sea, don't worry about it." There I am, really in my empty line. The lesson I did learn is that if I was patient, if I waited next to my rod that whole time, the chances are that I would have landed that fish. I would have had fried fish for dinner, fresh fish for dinner. I would have had a prize. But instead, I was lazy. I did not want to wait. And I lost my prize in the roots of the mangroves. So my message to you, the take-home message, is that if you do not stand attentively holding your fishing pole of life, waiting for the fish of opportunity to grab it, and you being there ready to set the hook and reel in, if you're not doing that, you too will lose your prize in the roots of the mangroves. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. I'm trying to do several things here at the same time, so bear with me. Jake, I thought you did an excellent job at this speech. This project is focusing on using stories in a speech or creating a speech that is a story. The title or the subject of the matter was Life's Lessons in Fishing, I believe was the exact title or something like that. Jake, one of the things you asked me to look for was the organization of the speech. And I thought you did an excellent job. And I can say you did a very good job. You are no doubt on your way to becoming a savant public speaker. Your speech was well organized. You started by describing the story at the beginning as a fishing trip with your father and mother. You described the boat, where you were going, and then talked about the trip itself. You described the day vividly, and the closing really struck a meaningful message that turned a lost fish into life's lessons of the importance of always being ready and paying attention. I couldn't find a lot wrong with your presentation, as I know, but at times you did flail a little. Although your gestures really were good, at times you seemed to move your hands a little too much and they weren't really relevant to the story. But there were many times when you used it. I loved when you went to sleep like this. I thought that was a super use of gestures. Also, you started out with the grammatical error when you said me, my mother, and my father. It should be my mother, my father, and I, or something like that. So you might want to keep that in mind for future. Your vocal variety was excellent. Your impersonation of your father and Mother's voices was really super. Your gestures imitating them were spot on. Also, your gestures reeling the seaweed in or the fish in were excellent. Even your loss of the fish as you lowered your head were excellent use of gestures as well as vocal variety, and it clearly demonstrated a seasoned speaker. You're doing an excellent job. Keep up the good work, and I look forward to your next speech. Mr. General Evaluator.